We're happy you could join us today on The Final Takeaway. We dive deep into current events and social, cultural, political, economic, and legal issues affecting the people. You may notice that videos on this channel may deviate from conventions and the status quo, since our approach seeks to encourage critical thinking and informed discussions on topics important to the public. Now is your chance to subscribe to stay connected. Hey guys, does the Guyana Human Rights Association know something that we don't? Or are they making reckless statements? The Guyana Human Rights Association, better known as the GHRA, recently published a statement with this headline, quote, "Resolving the murder of Adrianna Younge requires technical skills and political will." This headline is sharp, bold, daring, and effectively seeks to question the status quo on the Adrianna Younge case. Today, I'd like for us to dissect this statement from the press release, considering that the headline clearly labels Adrianna Younge's death as a homicide. It is quite startling, to say the least, since there is no known report legally classifying the child's death as a homicide. Now you can appreciate why this sparks curiosity and questions on GHRA's intentions and motives. The document also accuses the government of evasive conduct and placing limitations on access to Adrianna's autopsy results by the press and the public. The government's obstructionist approach raises questions on transparency and political motives. Let's go over the key parts of the statements and you will have a chance to share your views. We are always happy to hear your thoughts. Keep the comments respectful. We are talking about a child who passed away. She has a family. We know emotions are raw still, but we can still be objective. Anyway, I digressed. But let's go back to the press release and I'm going to share certain parts with you that I think is appropriate for what we're discussing right now. There are other statements in the press release that we don't have to necessarily go over, but you can always go to the Human Rights Association's website and read the entire statement for yourself. Also, I'm going to place the link to the document below the video. On May 13, 2025, the local human rights body issued a press release captioned, quote, "Resolving the murder of Adrianna Younge requires technical skills and political will." At the opening of the statement, the GHRA says, quote, "The Guyana Human Rights Association remains gravely concerned over the unresolved circumstances surrounding the death of Adrianna Younge and the rising public distrust it continues to provoke. The dominant theme driving national unrest is not merely the tragic nature of the death itself, but the deepening disbelief in statements and actions issued by the police and government officials. This trust vacuum has been filled by social media narratives with fluctuating levels of credibility." So that's the first part, and now we're going to ask this question. Is the GHRA trying to question the status quo or even spark controversy? Adrianna Younge's death is a very delicate matter, and a vast number of people, including the family, especially the family, remain on edge about the tragic circumstances surrounding the case. So we have to strike that delicate balance between wanting to advocate for Adrianna Younge, wanting help for Adrianna Younge, and still considering the feelings of the family members and those close to this case. Next, the GHRA blasted the government for being sneaky and evasive in how they're handling the case. Quote, "The government's stated strategy of limiting its response to known facts offer little reassurance. This approach has proven circular, as the missing facts lie within the purview of the very agencies, namely the police and government, that claim to be restrained by them. From evasive conduct surrounding events at the hotel, misleading interpretations of CCTV footage, curbing public and press access to autopsy results, The government's handling of the case has been marked by obstruction rather than transparency. Taking this approach only invites suspicion from the family and the public and causes them to question political motives, says the Human Rights Agency. Quote, "This pattern raises questions about political motives. With national elections on the horizon, Afro-Guyanese-led street unrest inevitably triggers a return to party loyalty among elements of the ruling party's traditional support base. Linking such unrest to electoral concerns without hard evidence would be reckless. However, administrative ineptitude in not providing reliable information could encourage such thinking." I know you guys understand what this is basically saying. It's as if the GHRA is implying that this whole Adrianna case is being prolonged and it's being dealt with in the way it's being dealt with in order to provoke civil unrest by oppositional party bases, okay? I am not going to get into the politics of this. Let's stay focused on why we're here. We're here because of Adrianna Younge. This is an innocent young child who went for a swim in a swimming pool at a local hotel, and all of a sudden, she's not here anymore. And nobody can give us answers as to how she died in terms of what's her manner of death. And this whole thing has been turned into a circus. Now, this is not the first time the GHRA released statements on the Adrianna Younge incident, but this one is cause for concern as far as preemptively classifying the death as a homicide. So this is not much different from when people were upset that President Ali essentially told the public that Adrianna's death was not linked to homicide. And of course, Ali was going off of reports that were given to him by the respective officials. I like to be objective about a situation, see it from both sides, and if blame is to be laid, lay blame where it fits. Needless to say, does the GHRA know something we don't? The GHRA statement wraps up by saying this, quote, "Adrianna Younge's family and indeed the nation as a whole has a right to a transparent investigation of their daughter's death. Secondly, the nation also needs to feel confident that the results of such an intervention are communicated to them fully and directly by the experts involved. Such an approach ensures both the necessary technical expertise and the political will to truth, justice, and public trust are upheld." And then it signs Executive Committee, Guyana Human Rights Association, May 13, 2025. There are other things that the GHRA mentioned in this same press release. We're only zooming in on the most relevant and pertinent statements as far as it relates to the GHRA referencing Adrianna Younge's death as a homicide. Now, on the face of it, it appears as if GHRA is simply expressing its own view on the matter without malicious intent. However, this is a national body, and you may appreciate the need for such organizations to take the utmost care when crafting public statements of this nature. Given that Adrianna Younge's death is still recent, people are hurting. It's a delicate matter. And in absence of an official report that classifies her death as a homicide, we have to be careful. We've got to wait for the experts to do their investigations and make their conclusions and make their findings public. In the meantime, we can continue to call on the requisite entities, organizations, officials to get involved, to help to get Adrianna's family the answers they seek. The fact of the matter is, this whole case leaves a lot to be desired. There's a lot to digest. There's so many moving parts, and these parts are not coming together fast enough for the family to have that peace and that confirmation and that clarity and that closure that they're seeking. Whatever closure means for this family, The GHRA has been in existence since 1979. It holds itself out as a non-profit organization, quote, working to promote and protect human rights of individuals and groups, irrespective of their beliefs and opinions, and independent of governments and political parties. So human rights organizations will do what human rights organizations do. If they feel like calling it a homicide from their perspective, okay. But we do not know. The public does not know yet what is the manner of death in terms of a legal classification of how this child died. We will continue to report on it, and as new information comes to us, we will provide it to you in the most beneficial, transparent, and responsible way. Anyways, here's where we wrap up, and I'd like to remind you to turn on YouTube notifications for this channel to receive instant updates on stories you're following. Thanks for watching. Stay safe.